Reddit, what's the funniest thing that a random stranger said to you that made you die laughing inside? Okay, the laughter was not entirely inside, but years ago on the subway in New York, a crazy dude walks on the train and screams at everyone you're all going to hell, and then steps off as the doors close. Total silence as the weirdness of the moment settles in. Then, without missing a beat, guy across from me goes, "Shit, I thought this train was going to Harlem." Entire subway car of cynical New Yorkers bursts out laughing. A few months ago I was waiting at a road crossing with loads of other strangers, waiting for the man to turn green. This was a busy main road in my city. A little girl on the other side of the road did the most accurate impression of the beep beep that the crossing makes, so blind people know it's safe to cross, and the entire crowd of people just stepped into the road. I had seen her do it, so I stayed put, but I couldn't stop laughing. My girlfriend was confused. 50 adults pranked by one absolute genius 6-ish-year-old. It was magical. Edit. It was really busy, so traffic was hardly moving. There wasn't a chance of being injured. I was helping a customer pick out a new bra, and she said she wanted her breasts to be lifted. She said, "My boobs are so saggy that if my nipples were eyeballs, I'd be able to see if my shoes were untied." I really tried my best to remain professional, but I couldn't stop laughing lol. I must have been about 10 or 11. I sat down on a bench next to an old guy to sort my shoe out. I took my shoe off, and he just turns to me and says, "Are they golfing socks?" I look at him with a completely blank look on my face thinking WTF. As I looked away he just said, "There's a hole in one." I was in the drive-thru of a Wendy's one time. An employee exited the building with his headphones on and was singing "Who Let the Dogs Out" at the top of his lungs. He saw me, stopped singing, and started walking away. A few seconds later he come up to my window and said, "Yes, that is what I'm listening to." Then he walked away. I laughed so hard at the whole situation. A few years ago I let my friend cut my hair. It did not go well. I was living in Philadelphia at the time and was walking through South Philly when I passed two strangers in the middle of the conversation. As I pass, one of them says to the other, "Hold up, I gotta talk to this guy." He proceeds to shout to me, "Ayo, your hair looks like shit. Come over here." I was amused, partially because of his bluntness and partially because he wasn't wrong. I was curious, so I walked over to him. He says, "Look, a buddy of mine owns a barber shop 2 blocks away. Here's his business card. I'll write my name on there. If you mention that I sent you, he'll give you a good deal." Bruh, but seriously take care of that shit. I never ended up going to his friend's shop, but I frequently use this story as the perfect example of Philly culture. Rude, blunt and in your face, yet somehow coming from a place of genuine care. Plus, it's fucking hilarious. The college I attend frequently has local elementary and middle school kids on tours, especially on Fridays. One particular Friday I was in line for the cafeteria when a group of kids came walking by with a tour guide. One kinda chubby little dude looked a bit uncomfortable. He was biting his lip a little and sweating. This part of the tour is usually when they have a bathroom break, and clearly Buddy needed to go. At this point I should note that the bathrooms are visible from where we are standing. But the tour guide, a fellow student of mine, didn't seem to notice. She just kept going on and on, talking about the history of the building. I watched this kid go from nervous to deeply anxious to visibly clenching over a span of about 3 minutes. He's staring at the stick-figure dude on the men's bathroom sign, as if it was the risen Christ. Miss Tour Guide takes a break in her spiel. I figure she's done. The next words out of her mouth will be ones to free this boy from the purgatory that is having to use the bathroom on a school trip. It'll be over. He'll be free. What followed, instead, was this. So in 1995, a professor named ABC Kalamazoo, "Move lady, I'm gonna shit my ass." He ran past her to the bathroom and presumably destroyed it. Poor guy. Had the entire line in tears with laughter though. May of 2000. Passing through Norwood, Louisiana with a friend. At around 2 in the afternoon we stopped to gas up / grab some snacks at the most podunk gas station known to man. A young man, extremely agitated, comes in with frustrated gestures and angrily shouts / gestures at the cashier with an accent that is beyond region, beyond stereotyping, beyond anything I have heard before. Where da goddamn Wally Melons at? At the top of lungs, approaching hysteria and tears. Worked at a smoke shop that sold electronic cigarettes years ago. A customer came in complaining that the new flavor made her pee smell funny. I couldn't keep a straight face when I said I wasn't sure if that was related. Then she says, "Oh, well it could be an STD or something I guess. Thanks," and walked out. When I was about 8 years old, 40 some odd years ago, my mother and I were waiting to be seated at a restaurant, and an older gentleman was ahead of us also waiting. The waitress asked him if he'd be smoking, back when that was still a thing in restaurants, and he replied no, but I may burst into flames later. Young me laughed all through lunch at that. In fact, it still makes me giggle lol. I once was canoeing with my fiance for the first time and we were having a bit of trouble at first getting a rhythm going, so we were along the edge of the water hitting the canal. This random couple was walking along the wall and said to his wife while pointing at us, "AHH canoeing, the true test of love." My fiance and I bursted into laughter for 20 minutes and then finally got our rhythm together. Something I overheard as 2 kids walked past our caravan park site. A rumbling boom of distant thunder. Kid 1, "I like thunder. It sounds like a 200-year-old dog who's retired and helps old people who are blind to get around." Kid 2, "Silence." Kid 1, "You know." Kid 2, "But why is it retired?" Kid 1, "Because it's old." Kid 2, "But it's still helping blind people." Kid 1, silence. When I was a freshman in college I had a pair of rainbow bell bottoms I made and wore a lot. I walking through the city back to the dorms when a guy rode up behind me on a bicycle. He was old, had long, scraggly grey hair and a bright red and yellow windsuit on. He rode beside me for a second, stared and then yelled, "Miss, your pants are hot." Hoo-hoo-tee, and the rode away into the sunset. It was so random and hilarious. Every time I wore those pants my friends would run up behind me and yell, "Your pants are hot." I'm in the bathroom at work washing my hands, and one of the professors that I don't think I've ever actually spoken to comes in and starts washing her lanyard in the sink. I try to make small talk with work people, even though I suck at it, so I try to strike up a conversation that goes down as follows. "Morning. Ugh, I spilled coffee on my lanyard and now it's all sticky. Blah, that's the worst." At this point she turns off the faucet and looks at me completely deadpan with eyes that said she wanted to feed me my own innards and said, "I think genocide is worse." So I awkwardly mumbled "Yeah, okay, bye, have a nice day," and quickly escaped. It's turned into a running joke in my office now though. Anything from the printer being out of toner to a fire drill on a cold day is literally worse than genocide. I was working at Best Buy and had a customer that was 92. He asked the difference between 2 towers that were about $100 difference in price. I told him that for what he was going to use it for, he said ML and Facebook, that they would both work fine, and that if anything the nicer one might last a bit longer. He said, "Last longer? Man, I'm 92. I don't even buy green bananas." Funniest thing I've ever heard. I was doing tech support over the phone for an internet company at a call center. I got a call from an elderly woman because her internet stopped working. After checking remotely that the modem was working and that there was no issues on her area, I was scheduling a visit from one of our technicians when she suddenly says, "Oh, I know what happened. The cat was playing around the router yesterday." Right, you think it took a cable or something? No, he probably took away the Wi-Fi. You mean like he moved the router? No, he probably took the airwaves of the Wi-Fi. You know how cats see things we can't. He surely say the Wi-Fi signal, grabbed it and took it away. It took all my willpower to not laugh in her face and finish the call. Riding the public bus in Vegas about 13 years ago. I'm sitting kind of in the middle. There's this guy sitting kind of in the front, having an extremely animated conversation with another guy next to him. The other guy looks like he's barely acknowledging what animated guy is saying. We get to a stop and animated talker guy gets up but other guy doesn't. It was then that I realized that they weren't together and that this dude was just talking in a semi-crazy way to some rando dude on the bus. But animated talker doesn't want to get off. He wants the other guy to acknowledge that he was right about something. The other guy is just nodding and trying to get on with his life, but this lunatic just kept yammering away. There gets to be some audible grumbling from the other riders because this dude is now holding up the bus. He finally goes to get off. Dude makes it almost to the sidewalk when he does an about face, gets back on the bus and yells out and another thing. At that second, nearly everyone on the bus yelled at the guy to GTFO. He obviously wasn't expecting it as he kind of recoiled and skittered away. The guy does kind of this awkward half-run thing directly into a psychiatrist's office. It was at this moment that an older gruff guy who was sitting in the back and quietly reading a newspaper this entire time pipes up and says, in a thick East Coast sounding accent, "Don't see da psychiatrist, go fucking figure." Everyone on the bus, including myself, just busted out laughing. Watched a guy walking to class at my college years ago saying, "Get the fuck out of my way," to a pigeon standing in his path. The pigeon quickly waddled off to the side